The Tempest is said to be William Shakespeare's last play. The first recorded performance of The Tempest was on November 1st of 1611. This performance was held for King James. Prospero, the protagonist, is a sorcerer and rightful Duke of Milan. Caliban is the son of the witch Scorax. Ariel is a spirit bound to serve Prospero. Prospero previously saved Ariel from a tree where the witch Scorax had stranded him. Miranda is Prospero's daughter and the only female character with any stage time. All other female characters are only referenced in the play. Ferdinand is the Prince of Naples and the son of King Alonso, and is also Miranda's love interest. The witch Scorax is powerful, and she's only ever referenced in the play. She never actually appears on stage. Stefano is King Alonso's loud and drunken butler. And of course, King Alonso is the King of Naples and Ferdinand's father. Gonzalo is King Alonso's trusted advisor, and he's integral in Prospero's survival on the island. Trinculo is a minor character who assists in the plot against Prospero. Sebastian is King Alonso's brother, and he also assists in usurping Prospero. Juno, Ceres, and Iris are all spirits that are summoned forth by Ariel to perform in a celebratory manner at the masque for the union of Miranda and Ferdinand. Juno is the queen of heaven, or the queen of gods. Ceres is the goddess of agriculture, and Iris is the goddess of rainbow. So a boatswain is just in charge of running the ship. A master captains the ship's bearings. Now, Antonio is the usurping brother of Prospero. I guess he's kind of the antagonist. Adrian is a lord in King Alonso's court, and he tends to follow the opinion of the king because he doesn't want to upset him. He would rather be on his side of things and kind of go with the winning boat, so to speak. Francisco is another lord in King Alonso's court, and he tries to comfort King Alonso during the part of the story where they all think that Ferdinand is dead. Alonso, Ferdinand, Sebastian, Antonio, Gonzalo, Stefano, and Trinculo are all on their way to Italy after coming from the wedding of Alonso's daughter, Claribel, to the Prince of Tunis in Africa, when a storm, or a tempest, strikes their ship. Prospero, who is the rightful Duke of Milan, has been stranded on an island with his daughter, Miranda, for 12 years. They witness the storm, and Prospero admits to Miranda that he was actually responsible, and so he launches into their backstory. Prospero was usurped by his greedy brother Antonio with the help of Alonso, and when they were stranded and left for dead, Gonzalo actually left behind Prospero's magic books. This is very integral in their survival on this stranded island. Prospero seeks revenge and thinks that fate has actually brought all of these people back into his path, and so he takes advantage of that. He puts Miranda to sleep and calls on the spirit Ariel. This caged spirit was actually sent by Prospero to set fire to the mast of the ship and to bring forth the storm. And so Ariel tells him that all the passengers have made it safely to the island shore, but that they're all scattered. He then complains about his enslavement, and Prospero quickly reminds him of, that he saved him and that he's indebted to him, and so he turns him invisible to all but himself. So Prospero is the only person who can see Ariel. Miranda and Prospero visit Caliban, who ends up cursing Prospero. Caliban gets an earful from both of them and is told to be grateful for all that he's had done for him, and is then sent to go gather firewood. The invisible Ariel plays romantic background music for Miranda and Ferdinand, who fall into a love/lust at first sight. This isn't really hard to grasp if you consider that Miranda has never seen another man other than her dad before. So Prospero is happy about this union, but he, for whatever reason, wants to delay the progression. So he takes Ferdinand to prison temporarily. And all of the shipwrecked passengers are worried about Ferdinand's fate. They all think that he's dead. Alonso starts backtracking, wishing that he'd never married his daughter off, because then they wouldn't be on this trip to begin with. And Ariel, still invisible, shows up and puts everybody but Sebastian and Antonio to sleep. So Sebastian and Antonio start plotting on killing everybody who's sleeping, and they're just about to start stabbing everybody when Ariel intervenes and wakes Gonzalo up with a loud shout. Everyone wakes up, and somehow the two are able to convince these naive lords that they were just drawing their swords to protect the king from some non-existent lions. Now, who's actually dumb enough to fall for this? Apparently these guys, because they keep going on their search like nothing happened. So on another part of the island, Stefano Trinculo and Caliban all end up drinking together under a cloak. They all end up running into each other and getting drunk under this cloak. Now we cut back to Prospero, who's putting Ferdinand to work, and Ferdinand doesn't really mind because he's doing everything, for Miranda. And so after they think that Prospero is asleep, Ferdinand and Miranda actually start flirting it up. And in a delicious gender-bending moment, Miranda actually proposes to Ferdinand, who accepts. And Prospero has been secretly kind of creepily watching on stage and is happy with the results. So he's not really asleep, he's actually watching everything that happens. Back to the drunken trio, Ariel plays some tricks on them, still invisible, impersonating their voices and kind of encouraging them to fight one another. And somehow they all end up agreeing to kill Prospero, and they plot to take his daughter and then put Stefano as their king. So before they can leave, they get kind of distracted by Ariel's music and decide to follow that instead. So all of the stranded lords are still looking for Ferdinand, and then Antonio and Sebastian are still plotting to stab everybody once they get the chance. So random magical feast just kind of appears out of nowhere, and everybody's dumb enough to sit down and try and eat it. Prospero's actually had Ariel do this as kind of like a trick, and so he has her make the food disappear as soon as they try to eat it. And then he like kind of jumps out and is all like, boom, how do you like those apples? So he like leaves Alonso and everybody all kind of confused just out of nowhere because they all thought that he would have been dead by now. So it's just kind of random that he pops up and there's like this mirage of food that just disappears. So Prospero is really excited about the impending marriage, and he calls forth those spirits to perform at that masque for them. Prospero and Ariel set up a trap of spirit dogs for that drunken trio to kind of like get in the way of their plot. And so Prospero then confronts Alonso, Antonio, and Sebastian and tells them that he in fact forgives them. And then he reveals that Ferdinand is alive and well, playing chess with his daughter. So everybody returns to the ship. They all go to Italy. Prospero is restored to the throne, and he first makes Ariel ensure the safe travel with calm seas, but then he kind of releases her in a Dobby the Sock kind of moment. Prospero addresses the audience in like a little epilogue. He asks them all for forgiveness and seeks to be absolved through the applause at the end of the show. Themes and social critiques. A few consistent themes throughout the different variations of The Tempest are forgiveness and repentance. Prospero, the protagonist, forgives literally everyone who wrongs him and his family. He even forgives the monstrous Caliban, who had planned on raping his daughter, and he in turn asks the audience for forgiveness in an epilogue that is laced with repentance. Also, The Tempest is a Christian romance. The tale centers around a virtuous romance while also exploring themes of redemption and sin. This was performed for royalty, so it had to be in line with church values at that time. Many scholars argue that colonialism is a heavy theme throughout The Tempest. However, I disagree. There's very little evidence. There aren't any indigenous people on the island. The storm strands all of the European lords there because of the storm, so it wasn't by choice. They were not searching and exploring. They were not on any conquest other than to get back home to Italy as soon as possible after leaving that wedding. When they do finally leave, they don't leave behind any colonists or any settlements or plantations. They didn't name any land or plant any flags claiming anything. The only true hints of colonialism stemmed from the drunken trio of all people, and not any of the main characters. Caliban, the son of the witch Scorax, is the mastermind behind the plan to kill Prospero and establish Stefano as regent. So Caliban is therefore the island's only colonist or This map depicts Mediterranean areas experiencing colonialism in the 1600s. I do find it rather odd that the Tempest does not seem to have a heavy dose of colonialism throughout, considering the massive expansion happening in the 1600s. Screen adaptations of The Tempest. The 1951 movie directed by Rex Tyler has very little information available on that version. The 1960 TV movie starring Richard Burton lacked any major deviation from the plot line, and so that version stays very true to the original story. The 1979 version was directed by Derek Jarman, and it also stayed very true to the original plot line. Straying from Shakespeare's vision did not begin until the 1980s. The 1982 screen adaptation of The Tempest, directed by Paul Mazursky, took a turn away from Shakespeare. Philip Demetrius, a successful architect, is plagued by a midlife crisis. He voluntarily abandons his job, his wife, her angsty teen daughter, all to run away on an isolated Greek island. He searches for the meaning in his life, and this 1982 reimagining stars Molly Ringwald, Raul Julia, Susan Sarandon, Gina Rowlands, and John Cassavetes. The 2010 adaptation by Julie Taymor has a delightful gender-bending twist. Instead of Prospero, the sorcerer, Helen Mirren stars as Prospera, the sorceress. The story is almost exactly the same, except for Prospero is now a woman, and she is not happy about the union between her daughter and the king's son.